This is RJ Fantasy Football Talk, and we back again for another one. You know who I am, Rodney. You know who this is, JJ. What's going on, bruh?
Nothing much, man. Hey, we are a quarter of the way through the season, so
Yes,
it's decision time for a lot of players, and got to
definitely.
make stuff. So it's going well, mostly well. Another bad week for me. Of my 7 leagues, I went 3-7. So
Oh
I mean, not three
God,
and seven, 3-4.
they're
So
four. Okay.
it's been so.
Mm,
I'm gonna get to the break point where I get over a 500 one of these weeks. I think it might even be this week. Maybe we'll see.
Could be. I mean, it couldn't have been no worse than mine. I went
All
2-6, 2-4 actually.
yeah,
So
two and four.
I went two. I won 2 out of 6 leagues, but actually, I was a little occupied this weekend. My brother got married, so I want to shout out to my brother DJ and Brittany. Um,
Congratulations to them.
so Sunday all day, I was pretty much
Uh,
wedding stuff. Weekend, Saturday, Sunday was wedding stuff. So it was pretty much I was keeping track of it, but I couldn't really be in tune like I normally am on a Sunday. So it's cool though. I enjoyed everything. It was a
right.
great wedding. So, but you know, we got a good show today. We
Oh
got some
yeah.
we got some topics, we got some news,
There's been
you
a
know,
bunch of news.
got some news, we got a bunch of news. But we're gonna start off like we always start off. We're gonna start off where top tier the top players of the last
All right.
weekend. And you know how we start. We start with the quarterbacks. And I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. Number one, I mean, this guy picked up a lot of yards in garbage time. Dak Prescott,
Yeah.
41 to 58, 502, 4 touchdowns. I mean, in a losing cause because they was down by a lot. Definitely. After him, I'm going Tom Brady, 30 for 46, 369, 5 touchdowns. That was like a throwback Tom Brady that we seen. So that Tom Brady is from like he pulled one of the things out of his hat from New England. So hey, whoever had Tom Brady, they definitely did well. Aaron Rodgers, man, Aaron Rodgers, 27, 33, 327, 4 touchdowns. I mean, the man, he even went in the camera and started flexing. So, yes, so he made a comment today. He was like, my down year is some quarterbacks' best years. So, I
Uh,
think that
yeah, he threw a little bit of shade at folks.
he,
Said was
he
down
threw some
on
shade. He threw some shade. So,
So
definitely,
yeah,
those are my three quarterbacks that I think did great this weekend. That's all I had was three. So, what you
yeah.
got for me?
Hey, you got the same three I had written down. So I ain't gonna talk about anybody doing well. I just talk about some people doing poorly. Uh,
Okay.
poorly, like Nick Foles, who we discussed on our show last week. We
Yes.
talked about the fact that he was getting that job from Trubisky, but quite frankly, he looked good going against Atlanta and against the Colts defense, which is one of the best defenses in the league right now. He looked very mediocre. 249 yards, a touchdown, an interception. If there's a bright spot from him, he had 42 attempts. So if they're losing like that and he's throwing that ball around, he has the potential to get better. They said they're going to be tweaking the offense around his talents, whatever those are. And so maybe in the weeks to come you'll see it. But the touchdown that he got, much like that Prescott you mentioned, he got that one touchdown to Allen Robinson in the garbage time, like the last minute and 30 something seconds in the game. So it was really a bad game that got salvaged by a touchdown. And then the one I'm concerned about is Matt Ryan because he looked like a star the first 2 weeks of the season. I was feeling really good because I grabbed Matt Ryan in as many leagues as I could. But the last 2 weeks he's looked bad, and yes,
Yes.
and this week, the past week in particular, he looked terrible. So
Definitely. I agree with
and he
you a
got
whole
sacked
lot.
4 times in that game, and that's not going to help out the cause. So,
I mean, the thing is with that, their defense, their secondary was
yeah.
down to like third stringers. And they got us, I mean,
Right.
honestly, they can't run the ball. Todd Gurley, he running well enough, but he's not doing that great. I
Yeah.
think they gotta pass the ball. They just gotta and anytime your second receiver, your number one receiver gets hurt, then your
Yeah.
second receiver has a goose egg, and your third receiver only has like 2 catches.
Right.
Who is he throwing to if you're not getting it to them? So
So
I agree. He got to play better. I think he will. It's just Julio got to get healthy.
yeah, I think that's gonna.
That's
That,
big part of it.
yeah.
So I mean, but we'll see. We'll see. They got a fairly good matchup this weekend. They should be able to win. So we'll see.
What about running backs?
Running backs, I got Joe Mixon, 151,
Finally
two
came alive.
touchdowns. Definitely. Um,
Right.
Dalvin Cook, he been balling the whole year anyway.
Yeah.
130, two touchdowns. And I'm going to go Melvin Gordon the third.
Yeah.
107,
Good game.
two touchdowns. He had a pretty good he had a pretty easy matchup this week too. So against that defense, he should have did well. And he has another easy matchup coming up this week. So if you got him, play him. Definitely put him in your lineup.
Mm-hmm.
He should put up similar numbers because I think that last touchdown was like a 40-something yarder. He bounced off the line and kind of hit to the left.
Right.
But other than that, it would have been like a mediocre game. But that last touchdown kind of saved it. So those are the three I got for the running backs. Do you have any for you?
Yeah, you got two of them. I throw in Latavius Murray.
Okay,
Alvin Kamara's been putting in work, but Murray
definitely.
actually had a really good, actually outscored as far as fantasy points. Not by
Yeah.
a lot, but they were running neck and neck. It'd be interesting to see how that goes once Michael Thomas gets back. Because I
Yeah.
think Alvin Kamara's been pretty much a receiver this whole. In fact, interesting. When we're going to talk about when do our quarterly reports about players. The interesting thing about Kamara is he's been a better receiver than he's been a
And the
running
running
back so
Yes.
far this year. So when Thomas gets back, we'll see whether that changes and how that affects Latavius Murray. But he had a 2-touchdown game. And I throw in finally showing a little bit. We'll see what there's been a lot of changes on that team this week, but Antonio Gibson had his maybe
Yes.
breakout game with 128 all-purpose yards. So
Yes, definitely.
he was a big part of what they were doing. So yeah, those are my running back guys.
I like Antonio Gibson. I had him early.
Uh-huh.
I kind of gave up on him a little bit,
did
but yeah. So,
right.
but he kind of. They did say they was gonna get him involved a little bit more. So I see it happening now. It's
Right.
probably too late for me to get him now, but it's fine.
I had him stashed away. I only have him in one league, though, unfortunately, if I remember correctly. But I stashed him on the bench because I was like, hey, the way Rivera was talking, I didn't buy the CMC comparisons. But
Yeah, that's
just
too much.
the way he runs his offense, he's known for getting his running backs involved, not just rushing, but in the passing game. So I was like, I'm going to hold on to Antonio Gibson and see when this breakout happens. So hopefully last week was a sign of things to come. Because that's the league where I'm 0-4. And I need somebody to rescue
Oh
me.
yeah.
So
Oh,
hopefully.
it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll come out of it. You're a legend. You're a vet.
Yeah,
You got it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We're gonna slide to this category of tight ends and wide receivers here.
All right.
Something special in my heart here, but I'm gonna hold that one for my last one.
Oh, no. I know who you talking about.
we gonna go Amari
Go
Cooper
for it.
first.
Yeah.
12 receptions, 134 and a touchdown. I know somebody who would like this. Definitely Shaq. Shaq would love this with Mike Evans. 7 receptions, 122 and a touchdown. Matter of fact, I seen Shaq at the wedding, and Shaq, half his roster was Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. The third one is Scary Terry, 10 receptions, 118. Interesting to see how it's gonna look with a new quarterback. I don't know if these numbers, so we just gotta see. And surprise on this list, did really well, and I want to make sure I pronounce his name right. Robert Tanya.
Yeah.
6 receptions, 98 yards, 3 touchdowns.
He was a question. Was it last week or the week before last? Somebody asked about him, and we're like,
yeah, because we didn't know about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, he came out because he's not even the starting. He is now, obviously.
Yeah,
but he wasn't even a starting tight end at the time. But he's filling those. And you should have known about this guy more because apparently he used to live with George Kittle over the summer.
Yeah,
right?
I found that out. They worked out together. They actually. So I didn't know that. I didn't know till I watched the game. They say he's actually has 5. He leads all tight ends with 5 touchdowns.
Yeah,
which is a good stat. And then we're gonna come to the greatest tight end in the league,
Yeah,
the
this.
best tight end in the league.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Back from injury.
Mm-hmm.
They call him Georgie. I call him Kittles. We call him George Kittles. Um, 15 receptions,
Yeah. Hey.
183, one touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, yak after yak after yak. I can go on for days, people. We all know this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I played against two people this week that had George Kittle in their tight end spot, and it did not
yeah,
go well.
yeah,
So
we know. George Kittle put up like 54 points
yeah,
in one league. So,
yes,
he put up quarterback numbers in one league.
yeah,
The man was balling.
yeah, without question, without
So,
question.
I mean, and he was the second tight end, the second quickest tight
Yeah.
end to get to 3,000 yards in his
Yeah.
career. So better than Kelsey. So we're gonna,
Which one of them has a Super Bowl ring, though? I'm just trying to figure
that
this
was
out.
because of Pat
But
Mahomes. So we're not gonna talk about that.
so my first wide receiver I want to give some shine to is
Yeah, okay.
Odell Beckham Jr. because I
Yeah,
hate
because
on
you've been
him
talking
and
about him.
I hate
Yes,
on
we
his
know.
quarterback. I hate on the whole Cleveland Browns organization. But
Yes, we know.
if he didn't ball out, but they were playing Dallas, so what I'm saying,
Yes,
everybody
exactly.
balls out on Dallas, and so we probably won't. I'm pretty sure that was his best game of the year, but it was one heck of a game.
Yeah,
154 all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns, even catching the touchdown from Jarvis Landry, who I'm a big fan of, but he's not been as
not
good
been great.
this year. But DJ Chark coming back off injury,
Yeah,
immediately making his presence known. 95 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I'm gonna give love to two people. One who always gets love, and he's basically holding down the fort in Tampa Bay, is Mike Evans. Um,
definitely.
and again, another shout out to Shaq. But someone who snuck up on everybody, but he has to because everybody is hurt in Denver, is Tim Patrick, who put up 113 yards and a touchdown. Um, and he's actually a waiver wire guy you might consider because Cortland Sutton we know was done.
Enough for the season. Yeah,
Noah Font is hurt and not
hurt.
expected to play, and who
Judy
people
hurt too. Huh?
KJ Hamler, who people were thinking would be able to fill in some of the guys, he's not gonna play guaranteed this week. So Tim Patrick might have another good week left in him. It's a gamble, but
Yeah,
he
definitely.
shined last week, so don't want to leave
I
him
mean,
out.
I think him and Judy. I
Yeah,
think Judy actually is playing well, but I think he actually played well,
yeah,
better than Judy that game. So,
yeah.
but the only thing with that is their quarterback
And
situation. They
that's a
don't know.
terrible.
It's a
Right.
mess until Locke comes back. They don't
Yeah,
really know who they running with this week
yeah,
because they saying they running with Rippler, but we don't know if that's
yeah,
true. They could be going with the other quarterback too. So
yeah. So
Rippler threw 3 interceptions if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, but they still won again.
Rippin won. They won,
Ripping,
but
yeah, ripping.
yeah,
Sorry.
but I'm with you. I'm not putting my money on that situation at all.
Yeah, I was. I mean, just because of the quarterback, I
Yeah,
would kind of stay away from it. But
yeah,
I just I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
but we'll see. Um, he's definitely a good waiver wire. Being that we're talking about it, waiver wire pickup.
He's a gamble though, but
It's a
it's a
gamble,
it's
but
a
you just take it.
basically they're in a situation where they're running out of guys to throw the ball to. So
Well,
that's the
that's a
one
lot
thing
of
that
teams.
makes them attractive. Yeah,
That's a lot of teams nowadays. With
this
injuries
year.
and all this stuff going on.
Yeah,
Definitely, you got to find a good third, fourth receiver
yeah,
that could probably do something. So definitely. And I mean, we here to help. We got the waiver
yeah.
wire, you know. Um, and I have a couple that
Okay,
you could, think about getting. Tanya is one of them. He's owned in 19%. He's owned only in
right.
19% of leagues right now. Probably can get him for real right now if you need him. Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller played a good game in that comeback for Tom Brady and them.
Uh huh.
He had 2 touchdowns in that game. One was wide open. One was a really good catch. So, um, and Cleveland lost Nick Chubb for
Right.
6 weeks. Kareem Hunt is also hurt. D. Ernest
Ernest
Johnson
Johnson. Yeah.
is owned in 3%.
Yeah.
of leagues. So
he, he was owned in 0% until this week. So they just started picking him up because yeah,
yeah. So,
I'm I wrote down Dearness Johnson for that exact same reason as a fill-in guy.
yeah.
But I guess my question is, we've seen Kareem Hunt, assuming he's healthy enough, be
Mhm.
the one guy when he was in Kansas City. We know he can do the workload. So I'm wondering, are they going to really use Dearness Johnson as much as they did when they had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt? Or is Kareem Hunt just going to get the bulk of those carries?
I think honestly, Kareem Hunt, they're gonna kind of use him the same way I think they
Uh-huh.
use Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt can carry it low, obviously,
Yeah.
but I think Kareem Hunt was hurt too. I think he got hurt.
Yeah. In
He had,
fact, Dearness Johnson outcarried Kareem Hunt in that game
yeah,
when they. So,
he had 20. I think he said he had like 22 carries in that
yeah.
game. So he did out touch him.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if that was going on game pace
Right.
or if that was just they wanted to get him the football because he was running well.
Right.
But Kareem Hunt still gonna get his, obviously. So I think at the end of the day, you still can pick him up and try to,
Uh-huh.
put a. Now, would you put him in your lineup is the question.
Right.
You know, now if you in desperate need for running back help, because honestly, running backs are thin nowadays
Yeah.
in fantasy football. So if you need running back help, you probably can pick him up and put him in your lineup
Mm-hmm.
and see what they do. But the question is, that's with anybody. Like I got Scotty Miller starting this week.
Right.
Um, just because
Desperate times.
desperate times. I mean,
And we
I
have
mean,
our first bye week situation.
yeah.
Well,
So
actually, I guess it's technically the second one if you count the Pittsburgh Titans game last week, but the first official bye week this week. So
yeah, definitely.
yes,
So I mean, I'm rolling. I think Scotty Miller is going to have a good game because
uh,
they saying Godwin is not going to play
yeah,
this.
that's right.
OJ Howard is out for the season. So it really is Mike Evans and Scotty Miller right now. So
Right.
I'm gonna just take my chances and see what I can get. Honestly, maybe he might do a little something for me.
Hey,
And I think the fact that he reminds you of a Wes Welker type player for
yeah,
Tom Brady, I think that kind
agreed.
of helps him out a little bit. So we'll see. You have any waiver wire guys you think?
Well, going with the injury bug, this all throughout the league. Austin Eckler went out, and he's gonna
That,
miss several weeks, like at least 6 to 8. I was reading potentially. So Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson are both still available in a good amount of leagues. I think they were both in like the mid 20s on Yahoo, so
okay.
I would definitely pick up. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Who's the better pickup between the two? I think they're probably going to both eat off of each other. So I don't think either one's going to be putting up Eckler numbers. If anybody is, I would think it'd be Josh Kelly.
Yeah.
But he has not really done that great since the first week. So he's been kind of his numbers are going in the wrong direction. But I think he'll step up. I'm hoping at least. I picked him up because basically trying to get off, take advantage of the time that Eckler's going to be lost. I decided to pick both Kelly and Justin Jackson were available in the league. I went with Josh Kelly just because I think he's more of a dynamic running back if he can
Yeah.
step up. So
Well, I think they drafted him for that
yeah,
because they didn't want Eckler to carry the full load.
right,
So I think they drafted him to be I guess a sort of lead back, running
yeah,
back, and he gets the opportunity now, honestly, to do it. It's all about taking advantage of it. I mean, you kind of see more of when the week come up when they play this week, who gets more carries
uh huh,
because
yeah,
you see how the game flow is going, who's going to be back there.
right,
But Justin been there before. He's been there
yeah,
longer than Kelly. So I'm Kelly. I'm leaning towards,
right,
but Justin is more of the catch out the backfield running back.
yeah,
Kelly's more the guy that carries between the tackles. So it's really you got to see who
yeah,
does the
yeah.
most. So I mean, we'll see though.
Here's a question for you. Still going off injuries for most of these pickups. if you're desperate in that situation, you're probably desperate if you were starting Sam Darnold to begin with. But if you were, maybe it's a 2 quarterback league. Do you pick up Joe Flacco?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would. I mean, because especially in our league, two
right.
quarterbacks like you got to get them. Like at the end of the day, you got to have them. So, like, just for example, Washington benched their quarterback. People flew to the waiver wire
To get
to pick up their
Kyle
backup.
Allen. Uh huh.
So it's like Kyle Allen's not the best quarterback, but hey, he can serve with all this. You think about it, with COVID going on and postpones of games and stuff like that, you cannot go wrong by not picking up these
Right.
quarterbacks. So I mean, now does Don? The question for me to you is, what if he starts playing well?
Joe Flacco?
Yes.
No, that's not gonna happen.
No, I'm not. Well, I'm just saying
Yeah,
it's a real question.
it's a good question, but
What
yeah,
if Flacco starts playing well again?
then it
I
would be
ain't
a
saying.
miracle.
Does Donald lose his job?
No. Well, not that, like I said, neither guy's been doing great. I would just be surprised. I can't get Joe Flacco out of from years ago when he still played with the Ravens when
Okay.
he completely tanked my team when I had to start him, and so
So he giving you nightmares. Is that what it is?
so I'm
Okay.
like, hey, I can't trust. I saw he was starting. I was like, I'm not even gonna try to put in a claim for him because he's. Plus, they don't really have what I would call weapons, and with the Jets anyway. So, what is he gonna do better than Sam Darnold did, which was nothing? So,
I mean, they got one weapon. That's it.
Crowder,
Crowder. I mean,
and maybe Le'Veon Bell when he gets back.
yeah, they say he's coming back this
Yeah,
week, so he'll be back this week. I just think Sam. I mean, I don't think he's going to outperform Sam Donald, but Sam Donald, if he just say he win a game,
yeah.
because Jets ain't winning no games, so just say he win this game. Do you roll with the hot hand?
How bad is Sam Donald's shoulder? I guess would be my question. Because I'm just thinking, no matter I don't unless he's gonna start
That's all they
throwing.
said.
Yeah, unless he's gonna start throwing like 4 touchdowns a game, which has never happened in Joe Flacco's. I won't say his career, but for most of his career, that's not been who he is as a quarterback. I don't see there being any threat to Sam Donald at this point.
Okay. I mean, Sam Donald has not been playing well.
No,
I
he's
mean,
been
I
horrific.
mean, if you want to be
Horrific.
truthful,
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
may roll with the high hand. They may roll with the
I
high hand.
say if he can win, there's like I said, you're not going to be any better or worse. I think in that
That,
situation,
that's
much
true.
like your team, trying to find a non Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback. We got our first question. Nathan Stee asked DK Metcalf for Odell Beckham Jr. Good trade or no?
No. Is he getting DK
That
or
was
is he
going to be
getting
my
Odell?
question.
If he's getting DK, yes.
Odell had a really good game, which is going to. I'm not a. I'm on the record as not being a big Odell Beckham Jr. fan. At least not there in Cleveland. So if I had Odell Beckham, I'm gonna try to trade him now while he's worse. Because after that game, you might get some pickup and traction from him. I would rather have
Definitely.
DK Metcalf in that
All
trade.
day long.
I think it's a fair
Yeah.
trade, though. I think the going between the two players is not one I would object to if I saw it come across. And I'm just talking from just a commissioner standpoint. Oh, is this a terrible trade that shouldn't be allowed? I think it's a
Yeah.
fair trade,
Mm-hmm.
but I would much rather have DK Metcalf. Would
I
be my
mean,
answer.
as you say, we're both commissioners. So if it came across my phone and said somebody had a trade for this, I wouldn't veto it, but I'd be like, whoever's getting DK is getting the better of the
Yeah.
trade.
You're getting a
First of
better
all,
quarterback. You're getting a better offense
thank you.
because right now the plan in Cleveland with the game that they won, right?
Run,
Baker
run.
Mayfield was not a big part of that plan.
Nope.
He comes in, he fills in. So right now, I'm like the the best catch that Odell had came from Jarvis Landry. So
Yep.
if I have to go off quarterbacks and offense, I would rather have Russell Wilson to DK Metcalf than I would have Baker Mayfield to anybody.
Yeah, I'm definitely going. I'm going
But
DK. I
good
like
question.
DK more.
Thanks for asking, Nathan. Let us know if that answered your question or what you think about it.
So
Hopefully, you're
yeah,
getting DK.
yeah. Please get DK.
Yeah.
Please don't be get
Uh,
nothing against Odell.
yeah.
Odell played well. I just
I
think
like, and I think what the thing that was really exciting about this game, one, the Cowboys lost, which is always exciting for me. But you got to see Odell in his element because for
yes,
the last few years, it's like I think Odell might be done because he's looked bad, he's looked old, he's looked banged up. This game, he was shining, so he still
yeah.
has the talent. He doesn't have the quarterback, I think,
I
to
really think
take advantage of it.
he needs to he need put it like this. Baker Mayfield in that game, they scored 49 points.
Yeah,
He had 185 yards for
yeah.
passing.
Passing right.
He
So
did not he did not contribute to that win like that. They
not
ran the
passing.
ball for
Yeah,
close for over 200 something yards.
that's how Cleveland's gonna be successful by not passing the ball, and so that's what makes me not. Like I said, if I have Odell, I'm trying to trade. I'm putting out trades all across to everybody in the league to try to get people on that game because I think you've probably seen the best Odell you're gonna see all year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Odell 2 touchdowns came from one from Jarvis,
Uh huh.
and one was a running play.
Yeah.
It didn't come from Baker.
Yeah.
The thing is, those touchdowns had nothing to do with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
So if I'm anybody, and like you say, if you got Odell after this game, people gonna be ready to kind of get him now because they seen
Right.
something.
Because everybody didn't watch the game and they just look in the stat line and like, oh,
Oh, he
Odell's
played well.
back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
People. One thing about people in fantasy, and I mean this is a little secret that people do, but people are big on names,
Yeah.
especially after they have a good game. You probably can get rid of most players that's big name after a big game, and they might not have a good game after that at all. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, definitely, I'm going DK. I think DK is a much better. DK actually is like second in the league in receiving. So you don't give up DK anyway. Like, so I just think it's kind of crazy. So whoever's trading DK, something's wrong with you. But if you're getting DK, Mopile, bro, you better
Yeah.
hold. You better make sure you get that trade cleared quick
Right.
and fast.
Right.
So yeah, no, but we'll see. Let's talk about we got a game tomorrow, man.
Do we? Yeah, finally. I
Got a
mean,
game
actually,
tomorrow.
let me say this. I talked a lot of trash about last week's game, but it was actually really interesting.
Yes, it was.
It was actually really interesting. But I'm more excited about tomorrow night's game.
Yes.
Who
We
you
have.
got winning?
I got Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
So we got Tampa Bay at Chicago.
right.
Now this is my thing. Tampa Bay going. I don't want to say they're gonna blow them out, but they definitely gonna beat them.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
I mean, the defense is better, quarterback is better, receivers better. So Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, all those guys, they're gonna have big games. My question is, does Nick Foles does he still hold on to the job if he
Yeah,
come out and lay an egg?
I think because they made that switch so soon, they're gonna stick with him for at least a few weeks. But I don't think this game is gonna. I said last week, Nick Foles is not that good, and quite frankly, he only looked good against that Atlanta defense. And I think you're gonna see him look bad again. Tampa Bay's defense isn't one of the best in the league, but they're good enough. And I think it's gonna be a tough one for Foles to look good against them. So
I mean,
I'm not buying into it.
not me either.
Yeah,
I'm not buying into it. I think the Bucks they're just gonna be too much for him.
yeah,
I mean, I'll be surprised if they stay in the game.
yeah.
I mean, because it's Nick Foles.
Here's a question for you. Ronald Jones actually looked decent. He got a lot of volume last week. Went over 100 yards, and they're already saying Leonard Fournette is not gonna play. It looks like. So
I just don't.
are you thinking because you think it's a blowout? Do you think Ronald Jones is a good play?
I think I would say yes because I feel like if they're up, they're going to be running the ball
Right.
quite a bit. So I think definitely Ronald Jones. But they also ran the other guy too,
Yeah,
the rookie.
the Keyshawn Vaughn.
Keyshawn Vaughn got
Uh
work.
huh.
So that backfield is so tricky. I just don't
Right.
know. You don't know who to play. It's like Keyshawn Vaughn is getting carries. Then
right.
you got Ronald Jones, and then when Fournette come back, you got Fournette. So it's like my thing, and we've been talking about this forever. Stick with one or two and kind of roll and just keep
To
you
help
get
out
you.
your fantasy owners, forget y'all
Yeah, I mean,
NFL team. That's like, help
help
us
us out
out
a little.
so we know.
I mean, Lord have mercy. And I think they're trying to build up Ronald Jones,
Yeah,
but I guess the more volume he gets, the better he gets in the
yeah,
game.
yeah,
So let's see. I don't know,
yeah.
but I definitely Ronald Jones could be a good play if you need him to play.
Right.
If you don't need him to play, don't play him.
He's a
But
good
if you,
fill-in guy if you,
yeah,
for some reason, need to fill. If, for instance, you had Green someone like Aaron Jones, and you need a fill-in, I think Ronald Jones might be a good fill-in guy for that. If you have no better options on your bench, yeah,
Speaking of that, you see Jamal Williams the other night?
too much. Too
Yeah.
much.
Did you
One of the
see him?
games I lost, and I lost by a slim margin. Well, it wasn't going to work out for me anyway because I needed a big Aaron Jones night and I needed a big Matt Ryan night. And Matt Ryan was obviously not going to work with me. So I was going to lose anyway, but I just kept watching. I was like, why isn't Aaron Jones on the field more?
Yo, I
So,
was like,
yeah,
I was like, where's Aaron Jones?
yeah,
I was like, I don't see Aaron Jones. Like they kept giving Jamal Williams the
yeah,
ball for the whole second quarter.
yeah.
Jamal Williams got the ball. I was like, where
If
is
you
Aaron
follow on
Jones?
Twitter, all the noise was like, "Is he hurt? What's happening?"
That's what I was like. I was like, hold on, let me. Hey, look, you know how many times I had Jamal Williams about to
uh,
pick him up, and then I was like, I want to make sure first because
right.
they ain't saying nothing about him being hurt, and I was like, where is Aaron Jones? Is Aaron Jones hurt or something?
People are like, "What's
But
wrong with the commentators on this game? They should be letting us know what's happening because it was like no, he was like nowhere to be found." So
yo, and then I seen him in the third quarter.
yeah, he came back, but
He back, but I don't know if he was hurt though. I doubt
yeah,
he was hurt.
yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out like, was he hurt? Was it something he was? I don't know. It was kind of strange.
I'm just glad they have the bye week to figure this thing out, and hopefully he comes back healthy because
But I
it
need
was killing
Devontae
me.
Adams to come back healthy too
Yeah,
this week. That was big too because Devontae Adams said he was healthy,
yeah, he was
ready to
ready to
go.
go, but I guess since they were going into the bye week, they were like, "Who cares? We should win this game anyway." So it's, I mean, they have to make their smart NFL decisions. It hurts us fantasy owners, but we're a minor part of the game. So
Whatever. Yeah, you're right. So we had a couple coaches fired.
well, one coach
Oh,
fired, but
one coach
yeah,
fired, but
but a coach that
he,
should have been fired
he
a
should have been
long
fired
time
a
ago.
long time ago.
In the off season,
Oh,
they should have been like, "What are you doing? Get out of here."
yeah, like they
Yeah,
should have fired him before he even came up with the idea of trading DeAndre Hopkins.
right,
So, like, if you would have brung that to me as a GM and a coach and say, "Look, I want to trade my best receiver," I'm gonna need you to quit right now, or I'm gonna fire you
to
because at
turn
the end
in
of
your
the day,
papers, right?
I'm gonna need you to turn in your badge. Don't even think about coming back in the building
Mm-hmm.
anymore because to me that's just a foolish move because you don't trade the
Right,
best receiver or one of the best receivers in the game because you don't want to pay him.
right.
Like I'm pretty sure Deshaun Watson would have took less money to
To
keep
get
DeAndre Hopkins there.
the way it's been looking, he should have because it's been terrible. And did you hear there was a big flare up between JJ Watt and
That too.
O'Brien that led into his firing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I think here's the deal. You have to think financially as the general manager, which Bill O'Brien was for this
that's
thing.
true.
But at the same time, you're gonna lose if the problem with being the general manager and the coach is you can't separate the two. And so
Yes,
you have somebody. DeAndre Hopkins made that team. He
pretty much.
was a star, and they just completely disrespected him and didn't give him much. So GM Bill O'Brien pretty much screwed over Coach Bill O'Brien, where
Yes.
he that team was lost. because it's like, what are you doing? You're not even trying to help us work to win this thing, and so that thing
I mean,
just terrible.
it goes back to the fact that
Uh,
basically, in a sense, you traded him for Brandon Cooks.
yeah,
Even though it was two separate
yeah,
trades,
but
you
that's
essentially
essentially
you
what you end up with.
essentially rated. It was a 1-on-1 trade for DeAndre Hopkins and Brandon Cooks
Which is awful.
because which is awful. You don't even like, and then he come out and
Is
say he
Brandon Cooks on
still
the team? Because it doesn't look like it so far. This it's like
he ain't did nothing this year. I
right,
mean, no,
yeah.
they took a number
It was
one receiver away from a number one quarterback. I
yeah,
just don't understand it. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And
yeah.
he talking about he want to coach again. Excuse me, coach where?
Who knows?
Long as they don't let him make decisions.
He made bad ones. If he gets the coaching job, hopefully they won't have him as the general manager also. But we have a couple of comments, questions. Hello to Justin. Hope I'm saying it. Mulholland. He says, should I trade Josh Jacobs for Jonathan Taylor and Robbie Anderson?
Josh Jacobs for Jonathan Taylor.
I think
Y-
I would say yeah.
yes,
I would.
yes, I would.
We're gonna get to our analysis of the quarterly report of
Yes,
how this first quarter of the season's gone. But one of the guys that I'm really impressed with in this first quarter is Robbie Anderson,
Anderson.
and so
Yes,
combining him with Jonathan Taylor, who pretty
Taylor.
much has that job clear. I mean, you can argue on how good he's been as a solo guy, but the point is they have a great offensive line. He's gonna get volume. He's gonna get carry. He's gonna get better. He's still a
Yeah.
rookie. So I love Josh Jacobs. For those that don't know, I'm a huge Raiders fan, whether they're in Oakland, Los Angeles, or Las Vegas. Um, so I love me some Josh Jacobs. But if I can get Jonathan Taylor and Robbie Anderson, and assuming I don't have to cut anybody of note, like if I'm just cutting some bitch guy I wasn't going to play anyway, I take that trade in a heartbeat.
Because the fact you're getting Robbie Anderson. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is a good piece with
Yeah,
it, but Robbie Anderson is playing great this
right.
year.
And we haven't.
I'm,
Josh Jacobs had a good first week, but he's kind of been. It's been a
yeah,
difficult schedule, but he has not been great the other week. So
yeah,
I don't think you're losing much in that Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor. You're losing some, but you're not losing a whole lot. But then when you add the Robbie Anderson to it, I think it becomes
definitely.
worth it.
You win that
You win
trade
that trade.
hands down.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sit one. This is gonna be a good one. Todd Gurley, Devin Singletary, or Deontay Johnson. Who you sitting this week?
Todd Gurley, Devin Singletary, Deontay Johnson. Singletary got a good matchup. I'm sitting Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
I'm sitting Todd Gurley.
I'm, I'm not sitting Deontay Johnson.
No,
I know that for certain.
and I'm not sitting
I'm trying to
Singletary.
think between Singletary and Gurley who would
Um,
be, and I think I'm with you. I think I'm on Gurley because,
no Zach Moss.
yeah,
And
no Zach Moss, and more so, the Atlanta offense has me a little bit worried right
yes,
now. So,
I
yeah,
mean, if you watched Gurley last week, he scored a touchdown, but
yeah,
outside of that touchdown, he really didn't do much.
right.
So I'm sitting Gurley. Singletary definitely I'm playing.
No,
Deontay Johnson I'm playing. So
yeah.
yeah,
And William Hamby just says howdy. So, howdy back.
I'm back, brother.
Thanks for joining
Hey,
us. Thanks for joining us. Let us
thank
know
you.
if you got any
Appreciate it.
questions or comment. Oh, and there we go. Uh, hope that this Titans game plays. Henry's not looking right on his bench. I know that's right. And Mixon and Kelly or Ernest Johnson starting.
Mixon, Kelly, or Ernest Johnson.
Is I think there's more so the fact of though. Well, clarify please. William, let us know. I think I'm interpreting it as having Henry on the bench because that Titans game might not happen,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
the
And
way
so
they
if you have to go with Mixon and Kelly or Ernest Johnson,
I'm
um,
going Mixon.
I'm going. Well, Mixon I think is a definite on it. I think that the question is going to be whether you don't really
Yeah.
know how it's gonna because Ernest Johnson is only relevant because Nick Chubb is out. Um, but at the
What?
same time, you don't really know between Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly how that's gonna go either. Um, I'm flipping a coin, and I'm thinking Joshua Kelly, but I'm not confident in it.
I'm I'm on the fence. I'm
Right,
going Ernest Johnson because we already know their game plan. Their
right,
game plan is to run the ball.
yeah,
With the Chargers, if they get behind, Herbert's going to be throwing.
right.
So it's like you really don't know. So I'm going Ernest Johnson because he did get 22 carries last
I
week,
was
and
gonna
they
say
are going to be
if it's the Ernest Johnson that we saw last week,
sweet. Yeah, I'm going Ernest Johnson because he's
I
going to get the
don't know how
carries.
much I believe in it, but yeah,
I mean, if I'm
I
going
guess Johnson. Yeah, it's tough.
because you know what they're going to do. You know
I
they're
do
going
know
to
they
run the
don't
ball.
want Baker Mayfield throwing the ball,
They
which is
feel
the exact opposite of the case with the Chargers.
exactly.
It's
So
the exact opposite.
Ernest Johnson, I'm leaning towards him more than Kelly.
Yeah,
So I would definitely do Ernest Johnson because
yeah, I
they're
think you
going to run the
convinced me.
ball.
I was
Yeah,
going the other way when we started the conversation, but I think I'm switching to your side.
yeah. I
I
think
don't feel
Ernest Johnson.
comfortable. I have this icky feeling in my
It's,
stomach doing it, and I'm praying up Hail Marys and whatever else I can do to get that Titans game plan.
yes,
Because
that Titans
if I
game.
have Mixon and Derrick Henry, I feel really good about
Yeah,
those as my starting running
definitely. You
backs.
feel good about that. But
Yeah,
hopefully they play.
yeah. Trey
So
S says he's a Falcon. I used to live in Atlanta. He's a Falcons fan. He's worried about their offense as well. So yeah, yo, Atlanta's a nice place. It's a
yeah,
nice city.
I've been to Atlanta twice, so
Let me say that,
yeah, I know.
and
So
I'll
yeah,
just leave it at that. But yeah, I always like to root for the Falcons. I think when Julio, like we said earlier, when Julio Jones gets back and healthy, I think everything rolls better.
yeah.
So, oh,
I just
and Will chiming back in. He had Saquon Barkley. I feel your hurt. I feel your pain.
Lord have mercy. Yeah.
Because I had him
That
too, and I was like, oh wow, my whole season is just over. So,
well, see the thing.
yeah.
My question for you is going into next year.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Saquon going into next year?
It's been I've had Saquon. I had Saquon Barkley in the league last year, and he got hurt. He came back in enough time that I won a championship in that league, and he was a big reason why. But then he got hurt again this year, and so it gets to the point where, I think what would make me feel a lot better about Saquon Barkley is if their team was better, where they didn't have to work him as hard. Because the more
That's
you
true.
work him, the more he is going to be subject to those injuries.
That's
So,
true.
would I still draft him next year? Yeah, in a heartbeat, because he's that good.
True. Okay.
But I don't think I draft him as high as I did. I think he falls. He's probably still a first rounder, depending on how his rehab goes. But
Yeah.
he's slipping to the back half of that first round, or at least the middle.
Well, I see a lot of running backs like this year.
Yeah,
A lot of running backs. I think that landscape of running backs, the early rounds, gonna look different.
yeah,
I think it's gonna look a little different next year.
yeah.
Clyde Edwards is gonna be there.
And that's gonna if you like the rookies this year, there's gonna be some rookies to like next
Coming
year
up
as well. So
next year. I mean, so
Well,
and that's a good thing because
yeah.
running backs
Hey,
are slim pickings
right.
nowadays. So if you add the ones that's coming in from college plus the ones that came in this year,
Yeah,
plus the ones that you, like the CMCs and the Saquons and the Zekes and all of those,
right.
you can have probably 15, 20 good running backs out there because you don't have that now.
Right.
You don't even have.
Well, you don't have it this year because they're all getting hurt. But
Yeah, you don't have that. So yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Saquon, no. Will makes a point that he thinks Saquon's going to drop to where King and Drake was getting picked this year. And on that note, let's start talking about our first quarter because King and Drake is one of the first guys I want to talk about. What we're doing, we're finished with the first quarter of the NFL season. I'm making all sorts of mistakes over here.
It's okay, man. We live, man. You know
There
we
we go.
do.
That's the one that's supposed to be up there. We're talking about the first quarter of the NFL season. And so what players do we like so far as we evaluate them? Which players should you start making moves on if you're going to decide to trade them, drop them, just hold them, and hope it gets better? I think Kenyon Drake is one of the guys at the top of my list of
Yes.
I don't know what to do because I'm on record last week as saying that against Carolina, Kenyon Drake was going to have the game to let you know why people fell in love with him, and he did not have it at all. I'm
He
not
didn't.
I'm not dropping him. I don't think you can trade him, but I'm gonna tell you what I did this week, and I meant to actually mention when we're talking away with wire pickups. I picked up a lot of Chase Edmonds this week,
Definitely.
wherever I could, because I'm starting to lose faith in Kenyon Drake. I think you got to play him because you probably got him around the second round,
Definitely.
and you kind of stuck with him. But he's probably no more than a bye week fill in at this point of the year. Chase Edmonds has been doing better, and you probably didn't even have him drafted, or you picked him up in the last round. I just picked him up in like 3 leagues this week because I think we might see that situation stay the way it is. I don't know. What do you think?
I had on my list. I had Kenny Drake too.
Yeah.
He is only averaging about 3.8 yards per carry. He not even getting the attempts like that.
Right.
He only got like 67 attempts through 4 games. A little over 250. He really not doing much. I mean,
nothing at all.
Nothing.
Were we crazy? Because I'm pretty sure I remember watching last year and saying Kenyon Drake is getting work and he should be phenomenal.
We was high on Kenyon Drake.
Yeah,
man, we was high. But I will say this: somebody did come up here and say, Steve. Yeah. Steve came up here. He was like on Kenyon Drake, and I caught a little flat this weekend with him. I said, man, you right, man. He got on me. I say, you right, man. I say, hey, I was wrong. I was big on Kenyon Drake. Like Kenyon Drake was he was like top of my list.
Yeah.
And he didn't do nothing. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you who I think is very disappointing this year. And I'm Carson Wentz is so disappointing this year. Carson Wentz is terrible. Yeah. And the only reason Carson Wentz is not dropped in 2 quarterback leagues is because you need 2 quarterbacks. Right. So, but in a lot of 1 quarterback leagues,
I fell for the Carson Wentz hype, and he was the first. No, I drafted Deshaun Watson, and then I came back and got Carson Wentz as my number 2 quarterback, and he is sitting on my bench to this day with Derek Carr as my starting guy because I'm like, Carson Wentz is awful.
Yeah.
and his awfulness flows throughout the team because Zach Ertz is awful this year.
Yes.
And it's because of Carson Wentz. And unfortunately, if you had Miles Sanders, he was hurt the first week, but he's been not what people expected. So I think that whole Eagles team is terrible. Is not what people were drafting him to be. And I think it starts with Carson Wentz. Yeah.
Definitely starts with Carson Wentz. I mean, his numbers are not that great. I mean, he got his pass completion is 60%, which is not bad, but it ain't great either. And this is the crazy part. He only averaging 5.8 yards per attempt. Like, that is insane for me. Like,
that's
crazy.
Right.
That's nothing, man. Like, I don't understand it, man. But he's one. Jarvis Landry. Yeah. Like, I was about to cut Jarvis Landry last week. I mean, he has done nothing.
Right. He threw 4 touchdowns last week. I think that's his play of the year thus far.
That's it. Yeah. But he only got 19 targets on the year. Yeah. But that goes back again.
It goes back to the quarterback. Exactly.
It goes back to Baker Mayfield.
So you said you almost cut him. Are you just put him on your bench now and just going to use him for a bye week filling, or do you have a plan for him? Try to trade him?
I put him on the bench. Nobody's going to take him if I trade him. But I put him on the bench in case I need him for bye weeks. He did have an all right game last week. So he gave me 18 points last week. But I'm going to hold on to him and put him on the bench just for bye weeks.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, there's other better receivers out there, obviously. So we'll see. I mean, he has been nicked up, but I also blame it on the quarterback. No. And they're not passing the ball either. So that's one. Hollywood Brown. is another
Yeah,
one.
that's been a disappointment.
Disappointment, and that's really on his quarterback. I mean,
Yeah,
definitely Lamar Jackson. Love me some Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't draft him, but I mean, I think he's a great quarterback in real life. He only looks for one person.
Mark Andrews.
Lord, like you have other receivers, dog. Like, would you
Right.
throw to somebody else? I
Right.
mean, he does not look for anybody else outside of Mark Andrews, man. It isn't. If he's not doing that, he's trying to run the ball. So it's like you have. I mean, you had this conversation the other day. I think it's a waste of talent
Yeah.
because Hollywood Brown is talented,
Very. Very.
and I think if you put him on another team, he would show it because you're not giving him an opportunity to flash and do what he normally does. Just like last year, that first 2 weeks he was balling, then it went
Uh,
downhill from there because Lamar Jackson wanted to run the ball. I just don't, what am I missing here? Am I missing something?
nope. I mean, it's what you kind of like, have to grow to expect right now because at this point he is who he is.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like Lamar Jackson, but right now he hasn't shown the ability to hit his wide receivers with consistency.
Yes.
So yeah. But I
I
didn't
mean,
go high on Hollywood Brown for that reason going into the season because we both talked about what we thought about Lamar Jackson and we're like, eh.
yeah.
So I didn't go for if I don't trust the quarterback, I don't go with receivers. But while we're talking about that, a quarterback I did trust, so I drafted this. I didn't draft this receiver, but I picked him up expecting him to do some work. I think I picked him up. If I drafted him really late. And this is the one player of some note that I decided to just give up on entirely. That's Darius Slayton, and
Yes.
that's because Danny used to be called Danny Dimes. He does not deserve that nickname anymore. So it's like he is just ruining that squad altogether.
Yep.
So I let Slayton go. Sterling Shepard's been hurt, which you could say maybe messes it up. But I kind of went back and forth on whether I wanted to drop Darius Slayton this week or wait till next week because they play the Cowboys this week. And I was like, Darius Slayton might be a good play just because the Cowboys defense is so bad. But in that same league, I have Evan Ingram. And so I said, if I got to pick between Darius Slayton and Evan Ingram, I'm going Evan Ingram. So I just put him in the flex, and I was like, I can just let go of Darius Slayton because nobody's going to want him because he's been awful. So
he hasn't showed up, and Daniel Jones ain't did nothing either.
Yeah.
I mean,
that one I kind of find disappointing because I thought that we saw enough last year that to make us. I didn't try to draft Daniel Jones in any of your leagues, but I thought he was going to be good enough that you could draft his wide receivers in that one.
See, this is my thing. I think the excuse last year was he didn't have his starting running back, his two starting receivers, but he still played well. Yeah. I think he regressed this year, if anything, because he's back in the same situation.
Yeah.
Doesn't have his starting running back, doesn't have his two starting receivers. His tight end is off and on the field. So it's like, but you still played well enough to be in a chase for a division title last year. So the thing is, I just don't understand. Like, he regressed so much that he looks bad.
He looks terrible.
He looks terrible. And it's just it ain't good at all, honestly. I think I had another person on this list. I had Julio on this list.
Okay.
But you got to take into account injuries and everything else. But me and you all have had numerous conversations about this because on my surprise list, I have Calvin Ridley. And
except for last week. Yeah.
Except for last week.
Hey, what's crazy? You might be able to say this, so I'm going to let you say it. Go ahead.
You have always said Calvin Ridley at some point was going to end up being a number one receiver.
Applause for me. Okay, I wasn't expecting you to say that one, but I have. And I believe
you have.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you have been telling me this all summer. Yeah. Calvin Ridley, I'm telling you, Rodney, Calvin Ridley is going to be the number one receiver at some point at this year. And Calvin Ridley's a top 4 receiver.
Here's the stat I like. Calvin really put up a goose egg last week and is still the number one wide receiver in a lot of leagues uh,
Yeah,
for fantasy points. So I'm kind of uh, on the fence on how well that offense is, like we mentioned at the earlier part of the show. But I think that has a lot to do with Julio Jones being out, or at least being unhealthy when he's played. So I'm thinking they're turning around. I love Calvin Ridley. We have a question. Sam Joshi asked, Jefferson, Juju, or Lamb?
whew, that's a tough one there.
Yeah.
Oh
I,
man,
I want to say Juju.
um, I want to say Lamb.
Lamb was going to be my second. I was going to say Juju, Lamb, and then Jefferson because I think I need to see more from Jefferson. I think you said that last week or earlier this week
Yeah,
when we were talking.
but he went over 100 yards
Yeah.
last week too, so
Yeah.
he did well last week too.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say Lamb because Dallas gets behind. Actually, they got a pretty easy
They
game
play
this
the
week.
Giants this week.
Play the Giants,
Yeah.
so they might run a lot. So
Right.
that may take away from Lamb a little bit.
Right.
But I'm going. I would go Juju. I would go
Yeah.
Lamb, and then I would go Jefferson. Those would be in that order
Yeah.
because I think Dallas is gonna run the ball a lot, and I think they're gonna get up. They're gonna just run the
Yeah,
ball anyway.
that's what I love what we've seen from C. I think he's been one. I wouldn't call CeeDee Lamb a surprise because we kind of both felt
Kinda
CeeDee Lamb was going
yeah,
to be, but CeeDee Lamb is living up to expectations. Um,
definitely.
and I just think, like I said, this week might not be the week that they really need to throw a lot
Yeah,
again. But who knows? That NFC East is so garbage.
you never know.
You
I
can't
mean,
predict it. Who
the
knows?
Giants might actually show up to this game
This will be
and
the
play.
one game they play well, right? But
Yeah,
I would think Dallas should be very embarrassed that they lost to Cleveland, and so they come out gunning this game. I would think if
I
they have
don't.
any pride,
I think it's a big game for Zeke, so I would
yeah,
definitely be Lamb second,
yeah.
Juju first, Jefferson. But Jefferson has been playing well the
Jefferson's
last two
been
weeks.
nice. Yeah,
Now Jefferson is in a matchup against Seattle this week,
hmm.
who has a really choppy secondary,
Yeah,
and it could become a sort of a shootout a little bit. So I don't know now.
right.
Now that I think about it,
You about to talk yourself out of it?
I'm probably gonna talk myself out of this one because
Okay.
Seattle with the choppy secondary, and all they do is their offense is gonna score touchdowns.
Uh,
So it's like, do you? And they don't have any other receiver outside of Jefferson and Cooper
Jefferson and
and
Adam
Thielen
Thielen. Yeah.
and Thielen. So, man, CeeDee Lamb. I don't like CeeDee Lamb this week. Juju, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. That's what I'm going. Juju, Jefferson,
Man.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb went from first on your list all the way to the back.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. They play the Giants.
No, I understand your logic. It's just funny. It's crazy because you see names and you think, and then the more you talk about it, you can convince yourself or something.
Yeah, because they're going to run the ball a lot against the Giants. They can probably get up early. Zeke going to run probably a bunch.
Right.
And that game was going to be a wash.
Right.
Pittsburgh,
They're playing the Eagles.
Philly,
Right.
playing Philly.
But they've
That could be
essentially had
a
2 weeks to prepare for this game.
but that could still
Yeah.
be not a shootout, but a tight game.
Yeah.
So I can see Juju kind of getting work in there.
Right.
But I just feel like that Seattle Minnesota game could be a real.
That's the X factor. I
It
think.
could be a real shootout because that secondary ain't no good in Seattle,
Right.
and they just gonna be able to throw.
But we thought that last week, right? With Miami and Seattle, and that game didn't quite turn out being the Ryan Fitzpatrick shootout game.
But I
that we
feel
expected
like
it to be.
I think it's different with Minnesota. I feel like Kirk Cousins is they're gonna get behind, and Kirk Cousins, you know how he do, he'll
Yeah.
just throw. So they're gonna
Yeah.
have to throw anyway. So I think that's gonna be the case with this one because they're gonna get behind at some point.
Right.
So I think they're gonna have to throw the ball anyway. So I think throwing the ball probably gonna be their thing.
All right.
Um, um
Let me ask you this one last way. Jefferson, Juju, Lamb. All other things being the same, who do you think's the better wide receiver out of the three?
Juju has proven that he could be good.
Right.
Lamb is a rookie, but Lamb is. We all know what Lamb. We like Lamb.
Yeah.
Jefferson is coming on late. I think Jefferson's in a good situation.
Well, if you can call the first quarter of the season late, but yeah, I see your
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
but I think I think Jefferson's he's in a good situation because
Uh-huh.
there's no competition for
Right. He's
second
clearly
receiver.
the second receiver.
He's
in that
clearly the
squad.
second receiver in that spot. Um, I'm going Juju.
Yeah.
It would be Juju,
Mm-hmm.
CeeDee Lamb, and Jefferson.
Yeah.
Because I feel like CeeDee Lamb is going to take that number one spot from Amari Cooper.
My clear, well, I don't know how to clear because there's some benefits for all of them. But the way I always make these decisions is I look at the three of them. I know for a fact Juju is a baller, and he's the number one receiver on his team. As good as I think Deontay Johnson is, there's no question that Juju Smith-Schuster is the lead receiver on that team. Jefferson and Lamb, not so much.
I feel like, but Jefferson,
they're both. I think they're both probably clear number twos, but I know Juju's a number one.
Yeah, that's why I said Juju won.
Yeah,
but I think if you're looking at the situation in Minnesota, Jefferson is the clear number two receiver right now. Yeah. Nobody's taking that spot from him.
And I think he has the best matchup out of the three. I agree with you there, but I prefer to go with the lead guy and never mind the matchup.
So take the matchups away.
Yeah,
I'm still going Juju, and I think CeeDee Lamb at some point he already jumped Gallup already. So
Gallup's been a disappointment. Well, I can't say a complete disappointment, but I think for Gallup, earlier in the year, he was looking a look better than he has the last couple of weeks, where you're kind of starting to wonder.
Well, you see the torches getting passed.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see the torches getting passed where he's jumping Gallup. Lamb is jumping Gallup to that second receiver spot because they scored 40-something points, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So Gallup had 0 points in fantasy last week, and Lamb had points. So it's like Cooper and Lamb are the 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's really a preference of who do you think is the real number one in Dallas? Is Amari Cooper the real number one, or is CeeDee Lamb the real number one?
I think Cooper is still at this point the number one.
The number one. Now, do you see Lamb taking that spot from
100%, but not yet.
Okay.
All right. So we agree that Juju's the pick for this week.
Yeah.
We have a new question. KLS Talks. 1 to 3. Full PPR start. You have to start 2. It looks like. Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, DJ Chark, AJ Brown, and I think this is DJ Moore.
Allen Robinson, 2. Definitely. And
I think DJ Chark is my definite.
Allen Robinson is definitely my definite.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide between, because Woods has not been as good as I expected him to be thus far. So I think it's my first definite is DJ Chark. And I think I go Allen Robinson as number 2.
Yeah, I can see those two. DJ Chark, Allen Robinson, definitely.
DJ Moore is a definite scratch because we've been talking about analyzing the first quarter of the season. DJ Moore is probably on my bench right now in favor of Robbie Anderson, which is the exact opposite of what we talked about our rankings of these guys. And I tried my best to convince you that DJ Moore is a wide receiver 1 and potentially one of the best in the league. You told me I was crazy, and you like Robbie Anderson. And so far, I had that 1 week of good DJ Moore, but over the first quarter of the season.
I told you. Yeah. I told you over the summer that Robbie Anderson was going to be better than him.
And so far, that looks to be the case. Yeah, by far.
Yes.
So
now,
I go
AJ
Robinson and Chark.
I'll go Robinson and Chark. AJ Brown is coming off an injury.
Right. I want to see him.
So they may ease him in a little bit. Yeah. So I don't see. I wouldn't risk that. Even though I got AJ Brown in a lot of leagues and I'm playing him this week, but I play with 3 receivers and a couple other slots. So I can make up my points. But I would definitely go Chark and I would go Robinson. Robinson is going to get 35 receptions. I mean,
Robinson is
he
that
gets
dude because,
yeah.
quite frankly, no matter who the
They,
quarterback is, they lock in on Allen Robinson. Yeah,
yes, they do. So
yeah.
definitely I'll roll with those two. Anybody else? Robert Woods, he's been
I
shaky.
love Robert Woods, but I have not loved him this year so far.
Yeah. So
I've been on and off with him. I think he gets better. I still like him. I still have him starting on one of my teams. But given this list, I definitely go Robinson and Chark.
yeah, definitely. I would too.
Yeah. I probably
I
I want to say I want to go to AJ Brown at some point, not this week, but I'm trying to think
long
long term.
long
Eventually, I
term
want to
AJ
throw him
Brown.
in there, but
Yeah.
yeah, not
Long
this
term
week.
is
I want
AJ
to see
Brown.
it. Yeah,
I mean, if you going in any order, Allen Robinson, Allen Robinson long term, Allen Robinson, AJ Brown, DJ Chark, Robert Woods, and then like
DJ Moore has to be last.
DJ Moore's last.
I'm still holding out hope that, and it's crazy because I
No,
don't have DJ Moore in any league at all. I didn't draft him as
but I
much as I
told
liked
you,
him. I didn't get him
I,
because I was well. Here's what why I talked a lot of DJ Moore, but I didn't draft DJ Moore. Is Teddy Bridgewater to me is not quite the quarterback I think to feed DJ Moore, but I
we
still
were
thought he
wrong
would have been
about
better
that.
than Robbie Anderson.
But we were so wrong about that
Yeah.
about Teddy Bridgewater.
Bridgewater's been nice. He's been nice.
Bridgewater's been really good, even though they're not winning. But
No,
he
hey, but that
he's
helps for fantasy. Sometimes you want them to lose.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, in real life, he's been really
Yeah,
good
he's been
for
pretty
them.
good. He's been pretty good.
I mean, them missing CMC ain't helping either. So
Yeah.
I
But
think
Mike
if he
Davis has
had
been filling in nicely.
Mike Davis been
So
putting it nicely for real.
yeah,
I got him going this week too. So
yeah, me
Mike
too.
Davis,
Me too.
but he gonna be gone in the next 2 weeks. So because CMC's coming back, so that's gonna hurt my heart a little bit because I had him and he's winning games for me. But
Yeah. But
I
thanks for
want
the question,
I
KLS.
do want to say I want to shout out. I do want to say my most surprise
Oh,
and
is it gonna be the same guy I am? Because I know we were both on some guy.
it's actually two.
It's two. Okay.
It's two of them and his teammates. So I want to say Josh Allen is one. 70%, which is
I
very
know.
high for him.
That is
Seven,
phenomenal.
70.9%, 1326, 12 touchdowns, one interception. That is phenomenal. And
We talked
I want to
a lot of bad stuff about Josh Allen because of his passer completion ratio, especially the long ball.
yes,
He's taking that away, so there's literally nothing bad I can say about Josh Allen.
and I want to shout out Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
35 targets, 26 receptions, 4-3, 2 touchdowns. Can't take nothing away from both of them.
Yeah.
And I would go on a tour to apologize to Josh Allen all day long. I mean, Josh Allen, he got my respect.
Yeah. Man
I
respect.
get,
Man respect.
he got my respect now. So, 70.9% from what he did last year.
That is.
I mean,
You don't see that cat. There's a lot of people trying to whatever, and I give it. Hey, take your victory lap. You have so far been 100% right, but he couldn't throw for 60% for the first 2 seasons of his career, and now he's over 70. That is a jump you don't see. So hey, y'all were right, but the fact that y'all were right is a miracle because you don't see people make that kind of jump that quickly. So hey, he gets he's the first when we're writing on our impressed list. He was the first guy that has completely impressed me. I'm gonna throw in another guy that you also hated on. Not as much as you hated on Josh Allen, but I also hated on. But this is one you hated on, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a top 10 quarterback right now.
I mean, when you throw 64 times a game,
it don't matter why he's a top 10 quarterback.
I'm just saying. I mean,
right
geez. I mean, when you throwing 64 times a game, you should.
You should, right? I think what's the biggest surprise to me there is the fact that he's throwing 60 times a game because I just knew, and he kind of hurts my other player who finally came alive, Joe Mixon. I just knew they were going to rely on Joe Mixon this year, and give him the ball. They finally gave him the ball over 20 times, and you see what he did with it. But Joe Burrow has been phenomenal this year, and I don't think that's going to change because they're going to be a bad team, and they're going to apparently just throw the ball all around the field.
Yeah.
So
and look, we talked bad about another guy,
we
and
talked bad about a lot of people.
Yeah, we did. But
Yeah.
this guy, he had a down year last year. Discount double check.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
We mentioned it earlier. He's like my down years are people's career years, and
oh my gosh, man.
He was the second name I wrote down.
Yeah, he is the second. Josh Allen's number one, and he's number two on my list. So he's throwing over 70% right now. 70%, 12, 14, 13 touchdowns. He got 13 touchdowns through 4 games. You can't say no more. Most guys dream of throwing for 13 touchdowns in a season.
Yeah.
Let alone. So, and then I want to shout out, definitely we talked about Calvin Ridley, but Gardner Minshew has really played well this year.
Yeah.
Do you know what his completion rate is?
Tell me, I don't.
72.1.
Nice.
And he's got 1138 and 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about we was gonna try to draft Trevor Lawrence last year, but we don't know. We might want to keep Minshew.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
like going in, people were talking about whether he would be able to keep that job long term. And hey, right now, I don't think you replace him.
You don't.
He's
not at 70.
Yeah, not 72%, right?
That is, really? And then I'm gonna finish it off.
Okay.
With James Robinson.
I was hoping you weren't gonna say that one because that's the one I wanted to throw out. Go ahead.
Give him his love. 285 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. Nobody knew about James Robinson.
He's on pace for over 1,000 yards at the rate he's going. But here's why I hate him, and this is why I threw him on this list. I was really big on Leonard Fournette this year, and every time I see James Robinson tear up off defenses, I'm like, that was Leonard Fournette.
That is Leonard Fournette.
That would have been Leonard Fournette. And right now, I have Leonard Fournette on my bench. He's been hurt a lot, and it's just been a disaster because apparently Ronald Jones is getting more shine to him now. And I was like, they took away my cash cow because for years, Leonard Fournette's been that bail cow there that you could just get 1,000 yards easily. And James Robinson immediately went to the top of the list. So congratulations to him, and congratulations to those that were able to get him on waiver wires because
he is balling.
He is balling.
He is definitely. Now I want to throw out a name that you need to watch for in the second quarter of the T. Higgins. Yeah. T. Higgins is a name that you need to watch out for. You talk about Joe Burrow. T. Higgins
is going to be big, right?
It's going to be big because
I picked him up in one league that he was available in. Because
me too.
Exactly.
I picked him up too. Now I'm tell you like this. I'm willing to go out on a limb. AJ Green is going to be on the bench. Yeah. He's going to be that third receiver.
Yeah.
He's not going to be there next year anyway. But this year, T. Higgins he about to snatch that job up.
Yeah.
Because I think
quickly
at this point, T. Higgins is probably better. He's better than AJ.
He's still available. I can't remember what the number is. I looked it up earlier. But he's still available in, I think, over 50% of leagues.
Yes.
But he's not going to be long. and along those lines of people you should grab now, I would say Laviska Shenault. And that goes back to, like you were saying, about Minshew and what they're doing in Jacksonville. I love Laviska Shenault because he's not on. His targets are going up. His yards went up. He put up 85 yards receiving last year. But he also, not last year, last week. But he also is involved in a run game. So he's one of those multi-talented guys. I would say similar to Debo from last year. Probably not quite as talented as Debo, not as big as Debo, but along those same lines of the guys who's going to have multiple uses in the offense. And I think that's one you might want to grab going forward for the next quarter and the next the remainder of your season.
Another one, and it's just probably more of a homer pick for me, but
Brandon Ayuk.
I mean,
It's a homer pick, but it's not a bad one. It's not a bad
I mean, you see what he's doing. I mean, and
one. Oh,
with them getting, with us getting healthy, and you got Debo Sanders coming back, who for the second week should be healthy.
yeah.
I think him and Debo together are going to be
Yeah, I
scary.
think Debo only makes him better. Right.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like because both of them play the same.
Yeah.
They have similar games. And did you see the way he leaped over that guy last week? It's just things like that. You know, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk,
Uh-huh.
Jefferson, those guys are gonna. This next quarter
Yeah.
is gonna be big for them
Yeah.
because those guys are really gonna start to take flight and they're gonna get off. So if I was y'all, I would definitely, if you can't, if you can grab them, which is probably rare now, but you
Yeah.
should be able to
You
grab them.
should
But
brand new still available in a good amount of leagues. So
yeah, so I would get him now before he get too hot because once he get hot, he ain't gonna be there. Just like T Higgins. T Higgins is
right.
hot right now, man.
Yeah.
So try to grab him,
Okay.
But we appreciate y'all,
Hey, it's been another good show. Thank you, everybody, for all your questions. Uh,
Definitely.
Keep in mind that we're back here not just on Wednesday nights, but on Saturdays. Check around midday. We have our 40-second countdown where we go over every game in the NFL. 40-second play clock. That's what it's called. We
Yeah.
go over every game. We make picks. And we also tell you which players you need to put in for each one of those matchups. And since I'm talking about it, I think I should also point out the fact that if you're looking at the screen you see so far through the first 4 weeks, my record in making game picks is 45-17, where your record is only 33-29. So I think you have
I'm
your
getting
work.
better.
You're getting better.
I'm
Hey,
getting
this is
better.
the first week that we both tied at 9-6, and in the group we're in, this is the first week I wasn't first place. My cousin actually led with getting 10 picks right. Both of us only got 9 right, so you didn't make any headway, but you didn't fall back any further than you already are. So
That's all right.
hey,
I'm coming.
it's
I'm
still
coming for
hey,
that top
it's
spot.
only in the first quarter. You got 3 more quarters to go to catch up
Right.
with me. So we'll see
I'm gonna
what you
get
can
there.
do.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Hey,
Like again, like
yeah.
hey, like the page,
Hit
like you
subscribe.
subscribe,
Yeah,
follow us on every platform. We there.
right
Find
up
us,
here.
like us,
Yeah,
follow us.
rjfantasyfootballtalk.com, RJ Fantasy Football Talk on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube.
Find us and like us,
Yeah.
cause we here.
All
And
right.
we ain't going nowhere.
Keep
So
your questions coming. It's been great. I'm really enjoying getting all these new questions and getting a
definitely.
chance to talk fantasy football with you all. Uh, have a blessed week. Good luck to you and your teams.
Good luck. Yeah, have a good night.
All right, stay safe. Peace.